Hi, in this video we're going to pick up where we left off in chapter 6 of the book I use for this class. It's going to be tutorial 6.3 using an output parameter. And we're going to complete the North America application that's found in chapter 6. So we're going to go ahead and get that opened up here. Get rid of this off of here. Open the project. This is the North America. Gotta go to the right chapter here, chapter 6. Wait for it to load up here. Now, the first thing we're going to need to do is add an open dialog control to our form. As soon as this gets loaded here, it's helpful. There we go. And get rid of this. So we've got the form selected here. I'm going to go to my toolbox, and I need to go to dialogues down here and open that up, and then find the open file dialog and double click on it and come back. And it's going to be down here. This is where it puts all this stuff down here that's not really a part of the interface. It's not something like a text box or something that shows up. So it's going to be down here. And then what we want to do is change the name of this to open file. So we go to name here. Hit fingers on the right keys again. Open file. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start on the code. And that's going to go into the get countries event handler. We're going to put code in there, but we're going to start off with putting in the our methods that we're going to create. So the first one we're going to do is get file name. So we're going to have a private void. We're not passing anything out of this. Get file name. We're going to do an out string selected file. And what that out does is it ties things together with what's outside the method to what's inside. So since we don't have anything in selected file, there's no value for that here until we actually run this, then it's not really tied together. And so it's a more of a reference variable than a value variable. So in memory, it's the reference of where it's located. So it can be empty and still work on here. So let's go ahead and get this here. So we're going to use an if statement here. So if open file dot show dialog is what we want on here. Parentheses and parentheses equals dialog result dot okay. Then selected file is going to be equal to open file dot file name. That's that fill in for the IntelliSense on here that I really like sometimes, and sometimes I hate it. Okay, so then we do an else. And in our else, we're going to have selected file equals quote quote, because we didn't find a file name, but one wasn't entered or something, or it wasn't there. Okay, so that takes care of that method. So let's go do the get countries. Is that what we're going to do? Get countries, the button event, get countries button, click event handler. So we're going to do this with a try catch. So we're going to do a try. And here we need a string variable. We're going to call country name. Oh, sorry, this is wrong one. So let's, I'm going to delete this stuff out of here. Sorry about that. We've got another method we need to put in here, which is get countries. Another void. get countries, and we're passing in string file name. So now in here we're going to have, this is our try again here, which is going to be a string country name, and then a stream reader, it's going to be input file, and then our input file would be equal to file dot open text, and then our file name being passed in. Countries list box dot items dot clear to clear everything out, make sure there's nothing in there, and then we'll do our while loop. So while not input file dot end of stream, and let me move this up. There we go. Okay, we're in here. We're gonna do country name. Is going to be equal to input file dot read line. It's way down here. And then countries list box dot items dot add country name. It's everything we have in our while loop. So we're going to close the file. Input file dot close. Okay, then we need to do our catch. Which is going to be our message box dot show, our ex dot message. And that's the end of that there. So now we're getting ready to do our click event handler. So again, in here we're going to have a string file name, and then we're going to call do this in capitals, get file name out there we go, out file name. Now I need to double check because that's underlined there. I'm thinking maybe I misspelled it, didn't do the capital on it or something. So it's get, and right there I got a W in there instead of an E. I do that a lot. I hit keys. Get file name, come down here and look, and it's no longer underlined, so that's right. Okay. And then we need to do a get, capitalize on that again, get countries, and passing in file name. That's everything we need in there. So let's go ahead, and if you have noticed that these were grayed out up here because we had never called them, now that we call them, they're not grayed out anymore. Let's go ahead and go back and do our exit button real quick here. Okay, and then we'll test this out. Get countries. Okay, so I got to go to where they're located, which is in the bin debug net 6.0 here in the North America folder there. So open next, and then there's all the countries in there, loaded it all in there for us. Okay, exit out. There you go. So it shows you how the out works. so that you can, if you notice on here, when we do this, we have string file name, and then we said get file name out file name. File name doesn't have a value. So if we do this without the out, it's not going to work, because without the out, it thinks it's just passing a value in. We're connecting these together through their reference value variable, or their reference address in memory. So it doesn't have to have anything in there. When we call this, it will get the file name and pass it in. It'll be connected in memory. So when it comes back here, file name will then have the value that it needs. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. And this is writing a value returning method. So this is actually writing a value back out again. Okay. So cups and fluid ounces are common units of measurement for food items. Sometimes when a recipe calls for an item measured in cups, you find that the grocery store, the item is sold in fluid ounces. To know how much you need to purchase for the recipe, you need to convert the required number of cups to fluid ounces. So the formula is ounces equals cups times 8. So in this tutorial, we're going to complete the cups to ounces project that is found in the chapter 6 folder of this book. Okay, so that's in that the source code on there. So the interface has already been completed for us. So we're going to open this up and then get going with doing the code on this. So I'm going to just do a file, open project, and I'm going to go to do my cups to ounces, and then give it a minute to open up the interface on this. Okay, so I'm going to go get rid of this here. So there's the interface. We enter how many cups we have, and it will tell us how many fluid ounces that will take. So go ahead, and I'm going to click on the convert just so we can get into the code here. Another way to do this, I can come over here to Form 1 CS and click on it, and then I can tell it to view code, and it would do the same thing. Okay. So I'm going to go out of this, because what I need to do is create a method that's going to do a cups to ounces on here. So I'm going to do a private. This time, since we're passing a value out, we have to tell it what data type we're going to pass out, in this case double. Then cups to ounces, and we're passing in the number of cups. So in here we're going to return cups times 8.0. And that's the only thing we're doing in here. Now it's really simple. You think, well, why are we even doing this? We could just put that in there. Well, if we did that, then you wouldn't see how it worked. So now we're going to do our convert button click event handler. First of all, we need two variables. We need cups, and we need ounces. Do an if statement then. So if double dot try parse, spell it right here, cups, text box dot text, then we need a comma out cups, then we're going to do ounces equals cups 2 ounces, passing in cups. Else, a second here, I gotta get what I need here. We just gonna put in a message box in here. Message box dot show. And we're going to put in here, enter a valid number, which should probably tell it enter a valid number of cups, but I'm just going to do this here. Okay, so that's our code there. So all we need to do is our exit button. Go over and do that. We're all set, so let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So let's say we need 2 cups. Whoops. What happened to there? Got off of that. Try this again. 2. Convert. Uh-oh, didn't convert. I think I left the line out. Yep. Doesn't help much if you convert it and then you don't tell it to put it out there. So ounces label dot text is going to be equal to ounces dot toString, and we're going to format it. So just over here 2 and 1. Okay, so let's try this again. 2, convert, and we get 16. Okay, say we have 2.6 cups, which is really weird. That comes out to 20.8 ounces. So, okay, so it works great. And hopefully that helps you out on how to pass values, return values from a method on there. And notice the out on here, because if it converts, it puts the value into cups. And if it doesn't, it'll go to the else and print out the error message on there for you. Okay, let's do one more on this one. This is going to be modularizing input validation with a Boolean method. So, in addition to regular pay, a company pays its employees an annual bonus. The company also contributes 5% of an employee's total compensation, gross pay plus bonus, to a retirement account. In this tutorial, we're going to complete an application that lets you enter an employee's gross pay and bonus amount and calculates the amount of retirement contribution. The project is named Pay and Bonus. Okay, so that's the one we're going to open up. So I'm going to do a file, open project, and we want the pay and bonus. And we'll give it a second here to get this loaded in. I think it's getting about ready. There we go. And close this off. So we would enter the total gross pay and the bonus amount, and then it will calculate out the retirement contribution. So let's go ahead and get going with the code. So I'm going to double click on my button there, even though that's not going to be what I'm going to put in here first. So I'm going to double click on calculate contribution. We're going to have up in here above this actually they put it in up here. I'm just going to put it in here. It'll be in the same location. But what we need is a constant. Get this in the right place here. There we go. Private constant decimal CONTRIB for contribution, and then underline rate, and it's going to be equal to 0.05 M. Okay. So then, and I want to get my stuff lined up here so I can make sure I see it better. Above here, we're going to do private bool, because we're going to return a Boolean value out of this. Inputs valid. We use a reference variable, decimal decimal, and then pay, and then a reference variable decimal bonus. Okay, this is underlined here because we haven't returned a value yet out of it. So that'll be done when we get that taken care of in here. So now if decimal dot try parse gross pay text box dot text comma out pay, then we're going to check to see if decimal dot try parse, this time bonus text box dot text out bonus. So in this one then we're going to do an input good going to be equal to true, and I must have left that out of there, so yep, we got to go up here above this. I do this all the time, I forget these. And this is a bool input good equals false. Okay, that takes care of that problem there. So and then on here then we go down, we're going to do an else. We do a message box dot show bonus amount is invalid. So it ends the else here, it ends the if here. And so what we want to need is an else on this one. And this one is message box dot show gross pay is invalid. Okay, and then what we want to do when we get out all the way out of the if statement stuff is to return input good. Okay, now notice all this is grayed out because we haven't called it yet. So now we're ready for what's going into our calculate button event handler. We have a decimal gross pay, which is equal to 0M, bonus, which is equal to 0M, and contributions, which is equal to 0M. So we're going to check to see if inputs valid, passing in a reference, gross pay, and a reference bonus. So both, if the inputs valid returns is good with as true, which is the return value, then we'll go into this part of it. Contributions will be equal to gross pay plus bonus times contribution rate, and then contribution label dot text will be equal to contributions dot toString, and we're going to want to format this as a C. Whoops. There we go. Okay. And there's no else on this. We're not putting out a message because that would have been put out from the other method about whether or not the bonus or the gross pay was invalid. Okay, so we don't need any of that in there. So now what we need to do is our exit button. Back over, double click, this dot close. Okay, so let's test this out. And I'm going to check to see if they gave me any. Nope, they didn't give me anything on here to. So I'll just put some numbers in. There may be some in the book, but I'm not going to go to the book to look it up. So, okay, let's say our total gross pay is 50,000 and our bonus amount is 10,000. Calculate contribution is 3,000. So you add those together and you get 6,000 times the 0.05 comes out to be 3,000. So everything calculated out good. So let's run it one more time. And I could have just left it in there and done this. Let's say we put in our gross pay as 40 or 50, and we hit the O's instead of the zeros, and bonus as 1,000, calculate, and we get the oops, I misspelled gross on there. Let me get out of here and I'll fix that right here. There. See why you test everything. Okay, so we do the 5,0,0,0,0 and then the 1,000 and calculate, and oops, gross pay is invalid. So we change these. Yep, I got O's in there instead of zeros. And down here, we accidentally hit an O in there. Gross pay, whoops, bonus amount is invalid. So everything seems to work on there. So hope this helps you out on passing values and then passing reference values and stuff on here. So thanks a lot. Bye.